everybody. Welcome to the Cavs Insider Podcast from Independence, where the Cavs just wrapped up practice here on Friday afternoon. We're glad to have you. I'm Brendan Gulick, and our first special guest on the Cavs Insider Podcast is a very special guest. The radio play-by-play announcer on the Cavaliers radio network, Tim Alcorn, joins us. Thanks for hanging out.
Brendan, my friend, it is good to see you again. You and I go a long way back, but congratulations on this great new venture of yours. I think it's tremendous.
Thank you. This is going to be a ton of fun. For those who are just joining us for the very first time, we are a new channel. We are available on YouTube or wherever you like to find your favorite podcasts. You can support us by subscribing to the YouTube channel. The website literally tomorrow goes live, October 1st, cavsinsider.com. We'll cover you from every angle that we can with written content, video content just like this, daily podcasts. Our social media handles are at @CavsInsider_FN. We're with FanNation, part of the Sports Illustrated Media Group. All right.
Keep putting me on video. You'll lose viewers, though.
I doubt it. Took care of the homework off the top. So let's talk Cavs. Gosh, this is an exciting team. We had a chance to talk with Coach and with the big guys today, Robin Lopez and Jared Allen, who are two of the more fun personalities you're ever going to see on the basketball floor. And I want to definitely dive into sort of what we learned from those guys. But first, you've been in this situation now for a couple of years. You went through COVID. You've had some kind of chaos to your start in this chair. But I know it's a special chair for you. How much do you enjoy and appreciate the opportunity to broadcast Cavalier games?
I'm telling you what, Brendan, I'm so incredibly blessed. This will be my fourth year as the radio play-by-play voice of the Cavaliers, and to say it has been an interesting journey would be an understatement. You're right, dealt with COVID. Well, my first year is actually when COVID hit. We didn't even get in the final 15 games of the year. So COVID hits my very first year as a play-by-play broadcaster. We could do a whole segment just on the way that finally wrapped up. And then second year, of course, the abbreviated 72-game schedule didn't get started till around Christmas time. The third year was the charm, not only for me as far as getting a full season in and doing this on a normal basis per se, but also as far as the elevation of what the Cavs did on the floor. The first 2 years for me were certainly a challenge win-loss wise, but my mentor, Joe Tait, always told me, Timothy, your name's never in a box score. So I had nothing to do with the wins and losses. But last year was so special, number one, to get an 82-game schedule in from my perspective, but to watch the growth of this team, to go from 22 wins the year before to 44 wins last year, and it would have been higher if they hadn't been decimated by the injuries that they had. So it's been a great ride. The Cavaliers have been wonderful to me in my first 3 years, and no doubt about it, looking forward to year number 4.
You bring up Joe's name early. I know how special your relationship is with him. And I have one fun Joe Tait story that we're just going to get out of the way off the top, because I think you'll identify with this. It's the most Joe Tait thing that anybody will ever hear. I think I was a sophomore in college, and I was at a John Carroll Mount Union football game, and Joe was doing the game. That's right. He was doing the game for Mount Union on TV. And, I went up to him and introduced myself and said something to the effect of, can you share, any advice you'd give to a young broadcaster who's trying to get his career going? And he looks at me and he puts his right arm on me and he goes, Brendan, eat as much free pizza as you can get your hands on.
And Joe
did. He did. And in some ways, I thought that almost spoke to just the lighthearted, fun way he carried himself. And it made him so identifiable. He was an incredible, incredible announcer and an even better friend to you, I know for sure.
Well, Joe and I were extraordinarily close. It all started when I met Joe, when I was in college. And we could do a whole show on that if you want, my relationship with Joe. But we had, that father-son type of relationship. We were so close. And as I've shared with people, it truly is the honor of my life to sit in the chair that Joe sat in, and to sit in the perch that is called the Joe Tait perch at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, because Joe was one of the greatest of all times to ever announce NBA basketball. And so, number one, with the relationship that I had with Joe and how close that we were, and now to sit in that chair. And I don't pretend to be Joe Tait. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever do it. But just to sit in that chair and hold that position, I'm just humbled by that, and I'm blessed by that.
Well, you do it more than admirably. We really enjoy listening to you each night.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the guys that are going to be on the floor this year.
Let's do that.
And let's go to the big guys because we talked to him today. Why don't we start with Jarrett Allen because he's returning. You even asked him, hey, look, you got a midseason trade. You came here. Same thing with Karis. He comes midseason. Donovan is traded close to the start of camp. It's all about trying to find your way a little bit. How have you observed Karis and Jarrett in particular try to find their way with this team?
That's a great question, Brendan. For Jarrett, when he got here, there really was a transition for him to get comfortable, to find his way, because keep in mind, we still had Andre Drummond at that time. And so that really created a unique scenario. But Jarrett was able to fit in as far as his role. And then last year, you really saw him flourish. I mean, he became an all-star center. We mentioned earlier the Cavs last year rack up 44 wins. If Jarrett doesn't sit out the final 17 games, there's no doubt in my mind they're in the high 40s, maybe 50 and above as far as a win total is concerned. He's becoming an elite center in the NBA, a great rim protector on the defensive end. His offensive game is just growing and growing and getting better. I think it's a very interesting camp and a very interesting preseason for Karis Levert. We never really saw the Karis Levert that I think Kobe Altman and JB Bickerstaff and the rest of the guys were hoping to see. And that's not any knock on Karis. He had that injury right after the All-Star break. And so he never had that opportunity to get comfortable with the guys on the floor. And from what we've seen, from what we've heard, you've been at all the press conferences, Karis is really showing the Karis Levert here in training camp that the Cavs thought we were getting. I thought this was going to be a huge camp for Karis, and from what we've seen and what we've heard, he has stepped up. So this could be a big year for Karis Levert.
And I think it's really cool that he comes into this year mentally as refreshed as he does physically, because I think the mental toll that it takes on you when you're constantly rehabbing,
Yes.
trying to give your best to a team that traded for you. They want you here. He's trying to fill that and say, look, I can prove to you that I belong here. But when you're physically dealing with limitations, that's really tough. And I think he sort of described yesterday to us that he hit the reset button in a way that allowed him to just start with a clean slate, which is awesome.
Well, he was asked, when's the last time he felt this good, both physically and emotionally and mentally? And he said 3 years. I mean, it's been a while because he's bounced around and had the health issues and so forth. So if he feels as good both mentally and physically as he has felt in 3 years, and we're about to see a very special season from Karis Levert, because as you said, he wants to show the Cavaliers, this is what you traded for. This is a place that I want to be. He's an Ohio guy. He's from Columbus. Right. So he wants to show that he can be a real special part of this Cavaliers team moving forward.
So we started there with Jarrett Allen. Obviously, he figures to be a hugely impactful player on this team. Not that Robin Lopez won't be, but I expect that Jarrett's going to see certainly more minutes than Robin will. One of the things, the hallmarks of this team last year, we kind of talked with Coach Bickerstaff about it, was the tall ball, right? You get 3 7-footers on the floor. It's pretty rare. You just don't see that kind of thing.
Right.
I have come to appreciate, and I think a lot of fans have, the defensive mentality that these guys play with. I think sometimes as a fan, when you see, hey, we've got a couple of 7-footers on the floor, that we're sacrificing pace. We're not going to be able to play as fast because we're trying to play with more size. I don't know that that's necessarily the case here, because especially a guy like Evan Mobley, I mean, we're hearing he may at times even feel comfortable bringing the ball up the floor. I'm curious, from what you've been able to see in practice, as we've kind of been behind closed doors until the last few minutes, how have you seen the size and hopefully the pace coalesce a little bit?
Well, one thing you saw from Evan and from Jarrett last year was the ability to get out and run the floor, as you just said, and DG finds them. And Ricky Rubio, when he was healthy, was able to find them. So when Ricky comes back, you'll see that aspect of the game. So they absolutely want to pick up the pace. There's no doubt about that. They've got the guys that can do that. They have the athleticism to get up and down the floor. I've mentioned during a couple of preseason stops that I've made that it's not fair to say the sky's the limit for Evan Mobley, because I think the atmosphere is the limit for Evan Mobley. This kid has so much potential. And as JB said, he can just advance his game that much further. So the Cavs are going to want to get up and go. I think Donovan Mitchell brings that to the team. You've seen it from DG. If they go a little bit smaller at that 3 spot, whether it's Karis or whoever it may be, they're going to run the floor. So that being said, JB prides himself on this being a defensive team first. And as we heard him say today, following practice, he's going to put his best 5 guys on the floor and his best combinations on the floor. So if that results in a faster paced game, then that's what you're going to see the Cavaliers do. But I think they'd like to play that way.
Tim Alcorn, the Cavs radio play-by-play announcer, our guest on the Cavs Insider podcast. A few more minutes here with Tim. Let's go to Robin Lopez for a second. He's got to be one of the goofiest guys you've ever seen in the NBA. He's so much fun because it's authentic. Like, some guys are a little different, but it feels phony. Not with Robin. I mean, he is just the most authentic cat you're ever going to meet. What do you enjoy most about his personality?
Well, there's just an irreverence to it. You know, he's a free spirit, and he'll talk about anything and everything. Today, he did a whole 5-minute dissertation on all the rides at Cedar Point. So there's your plug for Cedar Point.
That's right.
No, and you know what, Brendan, I think a locker room needs a guy like that. They need a guy to loosen things up once in a while, because an 82-game schedule, as I learned for the first time last year, it's a long schedule. It's a grind. There's a lot of plane rides and bus rides and road trips. And so you need that guy to kind of keep it loose and to kind of keep things fun. Not saying that none of the other Cavs are like that, because they are. They're a very loose group. But when you add somebody like Robin Lopez to that group, it's beneficial. But certainly his play on the floor is going to benefit this team as well. Let's not overlook that. He's going to be a solid backup to Jared Allen, your all-star starting center, and so he'll get that role. But Robin Lopez is going to offer something to this team, aside from keeping it kind of loose in the locker room or loose on the bus when it needs to be, because he's been a solid player in the NBA for a long time, and he's going to help JB coming off the bench, both offensively and defensively.
Couple more. Let's go to Coach Bickerstaff for a moment. I know you've spent obviously a little bit of time around him. Is there anything recently that you feel like you've learned about him, or about his style, or the way he handles even something as simple as scheduling practice? I mean, what is it about him that you think sort of like makes him the right guy to lead this particular young team?
Well, there is no question. There is no doubt in my mind that JB Bickerstaff is the right coach for this basketball team. I just think he's a superb coach. And one of the things that I've observed, it may not be this year, there's only been a few practices and we're just in the training camp, but one of the things that I've seen about JB, Brendan, is the fact that he has a feel for a team. Whether it's practice, whether it's knowing when to put the gas on the guys or let up off the gas a little bit, or when to take that time out, or whatever it may be, the message he delivers to the players. I think he has a real feel for players and how to interact with players. And I think a lot of that comes from being around NBA players his entire life, because his dad, Bernie Bickerstaff, was a legendary NBA coach, one of the best, and now he's a senior consultant with the Cavs. You see him hanging around here on the practice floor. So JB just has a feel for the game. He has a feel for a locker room, and I think he's the perfect coach for these guys. You use a cliche if you want, and I will. They'll run through a wall,
sure,
for JB, but they will, because they have that much respect for him and what he brings to the game and what he brings to that bench.
So excited to see what this group looks like this year. Final question will be about the backcourt. Obviously, there's a lot of attention there right now. Mm-hmm. You got a guy as talented as Donovan Mitchell pairing with a guy as talented as Darius Garland. Do you think there are any challenges with the way they play the game that might prevent an immediate click? Because I think fans are going to say, hey, it's game one and we've got one of the best backcourts in the league. Can't wait to see these guys get out there. if there were speed bumps, can you see any what those might be?
I don't know if I would term it as challenges. I just think it's going to take a while for a comfortableness to develop. You can play with a guy for a training camp or for a few preseason games, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to click immediately. And I'm sure Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell would tell you the exact same thing. It's going to take us a while to get used to one another. But that being said, they are both to their core, to their bones, team players. They want to do what's best for the team. So they'll figure that out, and they'll figure out how to work with one another and work off each other. So this is going to be, if not the best backcourt, one of the best backcourts in the NBA. It may not happen opening night in Toronto, but as this season moves along, you're going to see an incredible duo out there for the Cavaliers. So they'll get used to each other. They'll play with each other. They'll know each other's spots. They'll know each other's comfort as far as where they want to be on the floor. And then once that happens, look out and lights out, because they're going to be terrific.
It's going to be so much fun to watch. I mean, you see the talent there. And I guess that's what's fun this time of year is you look on paper and you're like, this should be a really fun year. And you knock on wood and you hope that injuries don't become a part of the equation like they did last year. It sure feels like the chemistry and the camaraderie are there. That base that you need to have with a championship caliber team is there. And it won't be much longer that we have to think about it, because we're going to see it in person starting next week.
Absolutely. Preseason, hard to believe, opens up Wednesday night in Philly, 3 more after that, and then the season opener in Toronto. A little bit of a intriguing storyline there with the Rookie of the Year, Scotty Barnes, and the should-have-been Rookie of the Year in Evan Mobley. I can't wait to call him with Jim Jones.
Are we throwing the other storyline out there that Robin Lopez said that the Raptors mascot is his least favorite mascot in the NBA? Because I think that should be mentioned.
There's on the floor and there's off the floor things to keep an eye on. And we'll see if that battle brews north of the border.
Oh, way too much fun. Can't wait to get it rolling, and we're really grateful for your time. We'll look forward to checking in with you soon.
Hey, again, congratulations on this venture. I just think it's outstanding. And if I haven't scared viewers with this face for radio, I'll be more than glad to join you anytime, Brendan. You and I go a long way back, so any way I can help you out, I'll be glad to do it.
It'd be awesome. We'll have you again on real soon. All right, Cavs Insider, CavsInsider.com, the website. Again, that starts literally tomorrow. We'll have content posted on Saturday, October 1st. The website will launch. Cavs Insider _FN is our social handle, Twitter and Instagram. We're working on the Facebook link at the moment. But again, we're affiliated with the Sports Illustrated Media Group through FanNation. And then you can find this wherever you like to find your favorite podcast. The Apple Store, Google Podcast has it. Spotify has it. So thanks for your support for the show. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content just like this. For Tim Alcorn, I'm Brendan Gulick. We'll see you again real soon as the Cavs get ready. They've got an off day on Sunday, but one more practice here before we focus on game week.